Well, here we are, Scott. Another NFT.NYC coming up. And as always, you, my friend, are busy making things happen. You've built a lot of things in this industry. I'm excited to talk a bit about LAGO and also this thought, the ecstasy of NFTs. I think that'll be fun to discuss as well. For those that don't know you and your background, you want to just introduce yourself for a moment and let folks know who you are.
Yeah, of course. Well, pleasure to be here yet again. Wow, how many NFT NYCs have there been now?
This is number four.
Four?
This is number four.
Yeah.
We went dark for over a year because of COVID. So it's going to be back with the fourth installment.
Yeah. Well, fourth time is the charm, they say. Although I don't know if we get more charming than the previous year.
Last year was amazing. I mean, that was incredible. It was a lot of people's first event, and 10,000 people come into one place, and the number of events that happened on top of ours. So it really felt decentralized, like the community had taken hold of this and made it their own. So it was fun to have you be a part of it for sure.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, it was definitely a fun time. Well, I'm Scott Gralnick, co-founder of LAGO. Pleasure to be here. For anyone that doesn't know me or I haven't met prior to, before I started LAGO, I was a co-founder of a company called Portis. Portis is a standard Web3 provider in the ecosystem. So instead of a MetaMask, what we did was we built an SDK and we gave it to developers. And developers were able to build it into their DApp, decentralized application. And so for a first-time user, they were able to go to a DApp for the very first time and log in with an email and password. And what happened was we encrypted the private keys with end-to-end encryption. So now that worked on any device, any browser, and you weren't locked into something specific. And you also weren't kicked out when you went to a DApp to go learn what MetaMask was, to download it, install it, learn what private keys were. It was just like this very smooth onboarding experience. We ended up growing to supporting over 500 plus companies in the space, from like OpenSea and Rarible and Uniswap and SushiSwap and Yearn Finance and MakerDAO and Augur and Alchemy and many others in the space. In 2020, we were acquired by Shapeshift. Shapeshift was like this OG exchange that eventually became a DAO, which means it became fully decentralized. It was like this reverse centralized to decentralized movement, which was pretty incredible to be a part of. Eric Voorhees and John Shapiro and the team over there did a fantastic job sort of leading the way for other companies to take that approach. But what was really interesting during that period of time, I had a lot of friends who were curators and artists and concierges and collectors in the NFT ecosystem. And they were like, listen, Scott, Portis has been supporting NFTs natively, visually in your wallet for like years. There's got to be a better way than a phone and a computer to enjoy a piece of work of art. I was like, that's a really good question. There's got to be. So I started looking into things and saw there was no real frame that communicated natively with the blockchain so that I could authenticate the art from a wallet and put it onto a frame in a home or a gallery. And on top of that, when we were thinking about this, a big problem for like these new users coming into the space, they didn't want to go to OpenSea and Rarible and Nifty Gateway and Foundation to navigate these waters of all these different NFTs. So like, okay, well, what can we build to help with that problem? So we ended up building this whole curation experience built into LAGO that, we work with different tastemakers that say, hey, here are like the top 10 or top 20 or top 30 minted works of art that we recommend this month. And then we also authenticate and show provenance historically from the metadata that we actually pull from the wallet and say, hey, not only is this owned by you, but here's who owned it prior to before you. Or maybe if you're renting something, it says, it's owned by X, Y, and Z. And I have a watermark on mine now because I don't own it, and people know the difference of what I own versus what I'm showing. And so we've just been heads down building product at LAGO, and really excited to get it into the ecosystem in the next month or so.
So you'll be delivering frames soon, and you have, I think, what is initially your founder's frame. I believe it's 33 by 33 with the smaller and larger size coming in the near future. So tell us a bit about the founder's frame. What makes the founder's frame unique from your production frame that's to come? And is there anything else that the folks that are early adopters of LAGO can look forward to in terms of being part of the community, or other utility type benefits that may come their way because they were first to move and first to partner and really support your company in creating this beautiful product?
Yeah, it's a great question. Well, yeah. So we have our standard frame, but we also have our founders frame, our founders edition frame. And anyone that was, part of our pre-orders is receiving our founders edition frame. And that's going to come with a few really unique things. I can't really get into all the details of what that comes with right now because we haven't released to the public of what that is. However, we believe that it'll be exciting, will provide continuous value to those that purchase prior to, and there may be even some extra art dropped to the wallet of those that have purchased. And what that art may enable them to do, to give access to and from and for, I can't give away those details at this point in time, but Ian, I think you hit the nail on the head there of the excitement and the buildup for what we've been building behind the scenes here at LAGO.
So when we spoke last year about LAGO, I would say that there was a bit of a blank wall problem in the NFT space. So a lot of blank walls, people have these amazing collections they've built or created, not a great way of showing them outside of cell phones, tablets, and computers. And LAGO and a few others really attack this problem of the blank wall problem. I now think of it as kind of a pain versus pleasure problem. Some of the frames are delivering great pleasure to those that bought them or are using them or are looking forward to them, and others are maybe difficult to use or whatever it may be, or not maybe what people are hoping for. As the co-founder of LAGO, how do you focus on meeting and exceeding the expectations of the customers so that when they talk about LAGO, they think about LAGO, it's a product that brought them pleasure and enjoyment, as you talk about the ecstasy of NFTs?
That's a good question. Well, first, I have to say I'm very thankful for all the companies in the ecosystem that also saw the problem of not having a frame to be able to enjoy minted works of art. And that goes to the big guys like the Samsungs of the world, to the smaller companies that are, in the same space as us, that are new creators. There's always going to be a level of what someone is willing to, have in their home to enjoy. And like I said, I'm very thankful that Samsung is in the space building TVs and now wanting to get into the NFT space. Because one, it's an education problem that they're now solving for us. They have mass adoption for TVs, and for them to partner up with, different marketplaces like Nifty Gateway, that's excellent. That's very exciting for, someone to be able to sitting in their home, watching TV, and then switching over to an NFT on their television. What we want to focus on is, an elevated experience that the frame alone and the display alone can stand next to a traditional art piece in a gallery or in your home with your art to work. So that if you want to watch TV, go sit down and watch your TV. But if you want to enjoy your works of art, you'll have your gallery setting here through our frame. On top of that, when we're working with different artists, we're talking about enabling artists to be able to tap in and control the hardware itself. One thing that gets me really excited is the creativity of all artists. And we sort of become a canvas for those creators to create upon. And what I mean by that is, because we have gesture control cameras, because we have sound bars, it sort of enables artists to take control and do very unique things. For instance, say I have a piece of artwork that is this, a storm, and maybe the storm reacts to the sound of the room. That the louder the room gets, the crazier the storm gets, or maybe the softer the room gets, the softer the storm gets. Or maybe I have 3 frames, in a row, and maybe as I walk by, the piece of work follows me from frame to frame to frame. Or maybe I create some type of unlockable NFT or experience that if I do the right gesture sequence, it unlocks this next level NFT, or maybe an access pass to something. I don't know what these creators are going to create, but we enable that. Whereas the enjoyment that you'll get from some of these other products, you'll enjoy your NFTs. That's a beautiful thing. But we really want to be in a place where we're pushing the boundaries of experience, of art and technology of one. And so we, in the midst of COVID and unfortunate wars throughout the world where there's been delays to delivering our product, we wanted to make sure that we weren't rushing anything, and we're really fine tuning the product to be able to deliver what we say that we're building.
So I often wonder what your thoughts are in terms of how you scale, right? Because hardware is a totally different thing than building a DApp or building an SDK for DApps. With hardware, you're selling a physical product, you have to ship it. There's all sorts of different hurdles by which you face, but there's also things that you're bringing to market that it takes this physical hardware. If people want to partner with you in the future and they come and they say, hey, we have a 10,000 project, we have a 1,000 project, we want to acquire 1,000 or 10,000 of these frames in advance, load them in. Now I'm assuming that might be 6 months or 2 years out. Okay, great. So somebody sees this video and they start thinking creatively, right? They have a big, ambitious project. They're going to charge enough for it that they could justify bundling in a piece of hardware. It maybe gets around some of the things of, knowing their customer and, being connected to them outside of just a acquisition on a website or an OpenSea or something of that nature. If a team wants to approach you and say, hey, we'd like to get 1,000, 10,000 frames out, what are those conversations like? Do you encourage those types of conversations, or how might you guide a potential executive or team as they think about partnering with you for a project?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have mass production capability. We're already producing in the thousands. So it's quite simple. It really depends what they want to do, how many they want to do it, where and when they want to ship. And at that level, it may even get into custom framing. So we have the ability, we have our display itself, but then we also have snap-on, snap-off customizable frames, right? So at that level, I would want to talk with the enterprise and see if there's a way to do something custom with their branding or their artistry, or maybe something more meaningful for the project itself. Maybe if Board 8 wanted to have each frame has built into it the color scheme or like some of the traits of the ape itself, we could do that. Maybe if there is a fashion company that wanted to do leather embroidery or like lacing or something built into the frame, we can do that. So we work with different craftsmen globally that are woodworkers and builders that help us do these beautiful fine craftsmanship for some of these more detailed type partnerships.
What do you think LAGO brings to the table with a partnership? So, I'll just mention a few projects, and maybe you could share your imagination of how LAGO may have benefited the project outside of what people just would think traditionally, right? So other side, there's all this land that's sold. Obviously, the land could be floating on the frame, but maybe there's more in your mind in terms of why that would be of benefit. Or moonbirds, right? There's a project that sold at a healthy, initial investment, has bloomed in terms of the market, how they've responded. And so maybe people think, oh, it'd be nice to have the bird on the frame, but maybe in your mind, you're like, yeah, but have you thought about this idea or these ideas of what we could have done had we partnered with a Moonbirds or a Yuga Labs for the other side drop? So can you share some ideas by which people can be thinking through potential partnerships with you that are more than just the initial display, which is amazing and beautiful and important. But I know that you have more that you're thinking through with these different things.
Yeah, so think of like a Moonbirds or Proof or some of these other clubs, right? They could have their own private curation channel within LAGO, where anyone that has a LAGO frame can subscribe to their channel to see upcoming information or different events they may be doing, and or recommendations of different NFTs to be able to purchase. Or maybe with the gesture control, maybe the Moonbirds becomes like they make a game out of it per se. Really, it depends on the goals and the ideas of what they want to accomplish. But our possibilities are quite limitless. It really depends on the creativity and what a group wants to accomplish.
Have people asked about how this could be done for greater communication with their community? Because you just mentioned, a few things. I don't know if everybody caught it. So one was, you mentioned the gesture control, right? So what type of element of engagement with the LAGO frame might you have because there's gesture control? But you also mentioned the ability for the project and the founders of the project to communicate with their community that has a LAGO frame, almost getting around the brokenness of Discord, Telegram, email, social media, all these different ways by which we're trying to communicate with one another. You may have a shortcut by which a project founding team can communicate with those that are part of the community in a way that is kind of unique and future thinking. So do you want to share a little more detail of how founders, entrepreneurs should be thinking through the potential of partnering with LAGO for some of these applications that you might be able to bring to their community's experience that they would not have otherwise?
Yeah, so if you think about what like Discord has done for private channels for gated experiences or gated communities within a specific chat, you could do the same thing for a curation channel that is gated based on the NFT that which you hold. But then you have a beautiful display system to be able to showcase certain things. In the end, we are trying to bring the metaverse home, right? That is our simple goal, is to bring the metaverse home. And if we could be that window into the metaverse, so that you have a physical piece of display in your house. Now, projects can communicate, display, engage, interact through this in a home or a gallery or anywhere. That really gets us excited. But for some reason, I go back to Angry Birds, the game itself. Like, what if there was this hidden like gem of an egg that it literally, if you did this right gesture, it like created this Moonbirds experience where they're playing a game, they're playing Angry Birds. And like, then if they win, it gets them access to like this private Moonbirds event. I don't know. There's a lot of creative things that can be done to entice, engage, and give an experience which provides emotion to the individual that gives them a deeper connection to their artwork at home or their collection at home beyond just having it.
Well, I hope you're sparking creative ideas in the minds of people that are tuned in. As we wrap up our conversation, because you and we could talk for a long time, but I think my goal was to make sure that folks in the NFT.NYC community know about LAGO, have an understanding of why you're a trusted entrepreneur and founder in this space, and why it's not just a matter of acquiring a frame, but thinking through these creative ideas of like, how might we help partner with LAGO and distribute 1,000, 10,000, whatever of these frames to our community, because this benefits our community or us, things of that nature. As we wrap it up, you have a lot of honor in the industry, obviously not just with LAGO, but Portis and things that you've done. And one of the things is you've built great relationships across a diverse ecosystem. And so you have this very diverse network. And it seems like, wherever I'm at, people know you and they love you. And so you've done a great job of building all these friendships. Can you just speak to diversity, not of gender and skin color, but diversity of utility, diversity of community, diversity of approaches and projects that you're seeing currently in the market that you're like, man, it's really nice to see the maturity and development of the NFT space in like this way and that way. What are some things that you're seeing that are standing out to you right now in the NFT industry?
So that's a really tough question. And there's two parts to this. The first quick honest answer is, I've been so heads down in my own little world with LAGO the past, I don't know, 9, 10, 11 months, that the only time I get to experience other parts of this NFT ecosystem is when I'm at an event, or I get to travel and meet people that I haven't seen in a long time. And so what I see is the community growing. What I see is the community getting more mature. What I see is, Web2 companies really trying to learn and understand the space of how they can provide value to their enterprises and their community. It's not just small companies like hacking projects together anymore. Listen, like right now, it's sort of timely that there's been some big crashes with pricing and crypto and the markets, traditional markets, and it's heartwarming to see how the community could come together and support one another, and remind those that are newer in the space about the historical events that have taken place. And yeah, the best thing about this community in general, and when I say this community, I mean Web3 as a whole, is that everyone tries to be as helpful as possible, because in the end, it will be about interoperability. In the end, it will be about the value that we receive on top of the chain, not the chain itself. Even though I have core beliefs of why I am in love with Ethereum, why I am in love with Bitcoin, and so on and so forth, in the end, it goes back to the value that we receive on top of everything. And with everyone coming in, there's so many different value propositions, but we're all here to help in different ways. And I see that as a whole. It's hard for me to zoom into individuals or individual projects to say those answers, but as a whole, I see the diversity of coming together to help. And that's a beautiful thing, and I'm excited about that, and we'll always continue to be excited about that as the ecosystem continues to grow.
Well, we're excited to have you be a part of NFT.NYC again this year. I'm looking forward to hearing your talk, The Ecstasy of NFTs. I love that title. And just the thought of, what is the next phase of how people are engaging with NFTs, whether it's art or collectibles or games. LAGO is bringing something physical and visual to the table. So thank you for being a part of it. For anybody that's watching our conversation, thanks for your attention. We look forward to seeing you June 20th through the 23rd in Times Square, New York. Scott, you have my respect. I'm in your corner cheering on the LAGO team. Love the beauty that you're bringing to blank walls.